Welcome back. It is yours truly, Nick, of Movie AV Impulse, and I know it has been a long time since I brought you a 4K review, but this one was in one of my top fives that I just dropped a couple of weeks ago. I'll link it right here, of a movie that I was so excited to get. I was so looking forward to, bought it day one, and before I really give my thoughts and opinions, I like to actually watch the movie, not just go to a website or pick out an article, copy what they say, and then pretend to bring you a review. So what I like to do is actually watch the movie with all of my enhancements turned off. I want to give you the most honest, accurate, and opinions on a 4K release. So today we are going to be talking about Enter the Dragon. I absolutely love the fact that they tried to bring us a real good 4K transfer, but did they really? So let's talk about the pros, the cons, and before I go any further, don't just take my word for it. I know this is crazy when I say this.
Nobody has the balls to come out and say it and just say, look, I can't be honest in a democracy. You need the votes.
But I'm not the only reviewer. I know I'm not the most liked person.
Rise and walk, my son.
Dr. McDermott's a great believer in natural healing powers of the mind.
But I will always bring you honest reviews, and don't just take my word for it. Make sure you go check out other reviewers before making your final decision, because my thoughts and opinions may not be the same as somebody else's, but that's just me. As far as a reviewer goes, I do not watch a single review of a movie that I am going to review later on the channel, because I don't want their influences coming down on me, because sometimes without even knowing it, you will subconsciously say something that another reviewer said and you didn't even realize it.
Damn!
So before we get into it, let's get into that intro. Now, in this review, I'm not going to talk about the movie. We all know Enter the Dragon is a fantastic martial arts movie with a lot of stars and some great martial arts choreography, especially on Bruce Lee's part, who always did his own stunts. And from what I hear, he kind of beat up the stuntmen a lot too. I am here to talk about the colors, the black levels, the shadow detail. I also want to get into the sound, because this has Adobe Atmos track on it. And I also want to get into where I think Warner Brothers really was lazy. They could have did a lot better on some things. And of course, my thing is they really should have used Dolby Vision, because I feel that Dolby Vision just reigns supreme when it comes to doing a 4K transfer. There's so much more that you can do with Dolby Vision than you can with using HDR10. But these are just my thoughts. And I know a lot might argue with me on that point, but if you got a Samsung TV,
Let me finish! You're already out!
I don't listen to that opinion, because you can't even play Dolby Vision. So until you upgrade your TV to something that has Dolby Vision, you won't understand why I love Dolby Vision over HDR10 or even HDR10 Plus. Okay, let's discuss the transfer itself, where I thought a lot of it was just crystal clear. A lot of film grain was removed, but they left just enough to kind of get that feeling of you are watching a movie made in the 70s, which I do like. I don't want them to do a complete, let's remove every single piece of grain, because then it just doesn't give you the same feeling of when you first watched it when you were a kid or a teenager or any of that. So I really do appreciate when companies do leave that little bit of film grain. But there are some scenes in here, and I don't know if maybe it was the reels that they had that just just looked like DVD quality for a good 15 to 20 seconds of the movie. And that really does get irritating, especially when you want to see the movie with that 4K restoration all the way through the movie. As far as colors, I will say that the reds and the yellows, in my opinion, really popped the most, especially in the opening scene. There is one part of the opening scene that does get a little fuzzy, but I just feel like they could have embraced the blues a little bit more. I really think that there are some scenes that the blue kind of gets lost in the darkness, and that's where I feel Dolby Vision could have really took this to the next step. While I'm on the subject, let's talk about black levels. Black levels and shadow detail in this movie are just not up to par, in my opinion. There are a lot of scenes, especially with everybody having the dark hair, when it's up against a dark background. Dolby Vision movies, you really get to see that fine detail, and you can make that distinction of where their hair is and their hairline ends versus them against like a black background. Whereas this, there are some scenes where it was really meshed together and it kind of almost made it look like just one black blah of a mess. I don't think that in that department with the dark levels, they really tried. There's even some scenes where I bet you didn't know that Bruce Lee's suit, when he's sneaking around island that he's on, it looks like his suit is black in most of these scenes when actually it's dark blue. And when he's up against a dark background, you really notice that, wow, that suit was blue, but it looks black in a lot of those scenes because it just kind of once again blends together. Overall, I think if you have the Blu-ray release, especially the one that came out like a couple years back, I believe for the 40th anniversary, they had the documentary on there. I think you really lucked out. And I haven't seen that actual Blu-ray release, so I'm not going to speak on it. But my buddy Dell, he did say that he wasn't going to upgrade this 4K release because he has that Blu-ray release. So Dell, I kind of think you were on to something here, because I can imagine the Blu-ray kind of looking the same way, except for those couple of scenes that I mentioned and I showed you, that it just really is crystal clear with the right amount of grain. So I feel if they used Dolby Vision, wake up Warner Brothers, they would have really been able to play and really make that distinction of the grayscale, the shadow detail, and the black levels a lot more refined. But they chose to use a free open format to do this because they knew regardless this was going to sell because it was the 50th anniversary, and that's what these labels do. I'm sorry to say it, but sometimes it is literally a hit or a miss. Now, in the beginning, I got really excited because this does have a Dolby Atmos track. And I was really excited because I thought to myself, there are so many scenes where they can really use the Dolby Atmos and really enhance it. And the very first scene that I really noticed that the ceiling speakers, the Atmos speakers, were really giving me a nice, like, wow, was right in the beginning, the opening credits. There's an airplane taking off and you really hear that airplane going from front to back and in the ceiling. And I was like, oh, we're in for a treat. And then I soon realized that the only thing that they used Adobe Atmos for was a couple of scenes with some flying kicks. The other one was when the music, when the score was kicking in, you really just heard a lot of the score in the ceiling. and that's it. And to be honest, I think they wasted their time on Adobe Atmos track. They could have just left it at a 5.1 or a 5.1 DTS, because they ripped us off as it is in the special features on this, because it really has nothing except for audio commentary, and Bruce Lee's wife makes a little introduction that you can choose to play. That's another thing, I really don't like these 4K releases. Like, I really miss DVD, like, interactive menus. Like, what happened to that? All we do now is just get a still picture with the main theme playing. I really want that back. I really do miss that. And I know people are going to be like, oh, but that's just my opinion. That's just me. And to ruin it for a couple of you people, the main villain is supposed to have a metal hand, yet there are certain scenes that I noticed that, like when he's holding the cat, the fingers are bent upward. Or when he's walking around showing John's character there, one of the martial arts guys, he's showing him like the compound and like the underground secret thing that they got going, and he wants him to help him. His hand is like bent upward, so you don't really get that. It just kind of was like, oh, I never really noticed that. I guess I never was really paying much attention. So, in turn, short end of the story is you should really hold on to your Blu-ray. Wait for this thing to go down in price. Don't worry about the slipcover. It is the same artwork that's on the case. So if you could snag this thing for $10, $12 and it doesn't have a slipcover, I say do it. I happened to get this day one because I was super excited. I only own the DVD, so I was really looking forward to this, and I kind of got let down. I'm not gonna lie. So you make your own decision. Go check out other reviewers. Like I said, we all don't have the same opinion. But anyways, I will see you on Wednesday with another top 5. But I'll see you on Wednesday. Peace.
Thank you. You love me. You really love me. You're not going